Kruti, lovely to have you both on the show. Kruti, I'm very excited to have our first virtual guest. You look, there you are on the screen. Courtesy of the Melbourne lockdown, you looks like you're in some tropical paradise with that background. But it's good to have you on the screen. And I think this works great. I think it's really good. You're life size. So what I think we'll start off with, because we've kind of got a slightly different format today, which is quite cool. Got two separate businesses all under the one umbrella. So I think what we'll do is maybe, Kruti, you can go first, and I'll get you to talk about myBeepr and how that's created, what it is and where it came from. And then, Martin, I'll get you to talk about PracticeHub and then sort of the larger scheme, just so that everyone who's watching gets a real feel. So, Kruti, take it away. Tell us about myBeepr.
Yeah, look, myBeepr in a nutshell is a cloud-based healthcare communication platform. So what we do is we modernize the way healthcare professionals share patient information amongst their care teams. To be honest, it's pretty much the only Australian healthcare solution that combines cool usability of instant messaging with the serious security, privacy, and workflow requirements of healthcare. So, yeah, that's what we do.
Very cool. And just tell me quickly two things. One, how did you end up co-founding it? And two, where'd the name come from?
Yeah, okay. Well, firstly, how did we get started? Okay, so this is a very personal story. The idea of myBeepr was really born from a personal pain point of mine and my sister, who's also one of the co-founders. My father was in and out of hospitals for over 12 years now, and before we lost him to the healthcare system in Sydney, it was due to literally just one communication mistake. And basically, like you probably don't know this, Steve, but my dad his healthcare problems were very complicated. So what that meant was he was looked after by multiple care teams. So every time he went into hospitals, it'd be renal, vascular, urologist, just the whole shebang. He would be looked after multiple care teams in the organisation.
Okay.
And I remember this vividly. One day, his health had, deteriorated, and we had to take him to hospital. And, he got his care and everything, and then he got discharged that day. And usually, because he's a kidney transplant patient, you get discharged by the renal team because they're the main sort of care team that looks after him. Yep. And what had happened that day was he got discharged by the vascular team, which was a little bit odd, being there for 12 years, but he's always been discharged by the renal team. And when he got discharged, he got his medications and everything. And when we got home, we realized there was one medication that was missing, which he takes on a regular basis, and that was the anti-rejection drugs for his kidneys. And we could see that he was getting really delirious, and, we started panicking. And this was like midnight. And we were just like, who do we call? Like, what do we do? And, so we're trying to call the GPs. The GPs aren't available. So then we're like calling the ambulance. It's back in hospital. And the renal guys who came to see him said, where's his anti-rejection drugs? And we're like, he never got them. You discharged him without it. And, and shortly after he did pass away, had to be admitted to palliative, and, we had to say bye. And this was really traumatizing for us because, to think that one small thing could really take someone's life. So I asked my husband, and he's a surgeon, and he said, well, he's seen these types of mistakes happen before because, our healthcare system is riddled with inefficiencies, and, the things that they have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, they rely on things like faxes and pages and one-way communication systems. There's no such thing as team collaboration that happens in the healthcare environment. And I just thought, that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we live in the 21st century, and to have an industry that still relies on such archaic methods of communicating, it's just unheard of. So that's how myBeepr was built, to really solve this problem that really affects, every human being, like every day-to-day people. And what you'll find is that every founder in the myBeepr team is absolutely extremely passionate about the problem that we're solving and really making an impact in our healthcare system.
Wow, that's a very personal story. Thank you so much for sharing that. That's incredible. And you're right. So I've spoken to all the founders in the last week, and you've all got this same energy and vibe, and it's awesome. And I was like, oh gosh, they all sound the same. They all sound super excited all the time. I love doing this interview. And it's such a shame you couldn't get here, but that's awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And Martin, tell me a little bit about PracticeHub, and then sort of talk about the wider story as to why we're all here together today.
Yeah, so I guess PracticeHub at its core is really just about supporting medical practices, run medical practices safer and more efficient, and sort of,
like a practice management software kind of thing?
It's sort of like a practice management software, but it actually, what we're focusing on is that there's a really well-established market that manages that doctor-patient workflow, and there's a good market there. What we're looking to do is build a curated sort of platform and set of apps that sort of sit around that help run the rest of the practice. And I think there's really a gap in there, and there's lots of technology to support the doctor-patient workflow, but not just to run the medical practice itself.
The actual business, right? The business of the practice. Yeah. Okay, cool.
And a lot of it's no different to any other small business, but a lot of it's sort of more unique and customised for medical practices.
Okay, and your role at PracticeHub at the moment is?
So I wear a couple of hats, I guess. Probably worth explaining the story of PracticeHub and who we are. It's actually founded by Australia's largest doctor-owned organisation, Avant. So they're there to support their members, and they've got, as members, over half of Australia's doctors.
Wow.
And really, the genesis of what we're doing here has really come from a persistent sort of feedback from doctors. It's just harder to run a compliant and successful medical practice. It's just, whether it's legislation, patient expectations, just running that is becoming harder and harder these days, and it's not becoming any easier. And really, with that feedback, I think, Avant's desire to support its doctors, we looked at, ways that we can help them in that. And technology is really an obvious one. And, technology can be incredibly enabling, but it also can be, a risk if not designed right and actually, implemented well. And certainly, I think what we've seen, I like to describe healthcare and technology as the last frontier of technology. I think Kruti mentioned it as well. You just need to look at every medical practice and see the facts that's still there. Go to the hospital and see just about every doctor's still got a pager on their on their hips, and it's like I've heard somewhere that the actual healthcare industry is single-handedly holding up the fax industry.
I find it astounding that anyone is still using a fax. I remember when I started in recruitment, which was a very long time ago, 27 years ago, we used to fax, but we stopped pretty soon after that. The fact that we're still using it now for such a important industry, you're right, it's mad. It's just completely mad.
And I guess as a new frontier, it's just a world of possibility in terms of being able to create value. And I think the challenge is, though, it is a very complex system. So getting that right is the real challenge, and having the insights to actually design the technology to make it better is where the real challenge lies.
And I think do you think a lot of the money goes into the research around actually solving the medical problems as opposed to the technology, and that's why it's sort of taken the private sector to come in and do that? Is that probably?
I think there is a lot of money that's actually spent on the medicine side of things, but I think from the technology there's a lot of money invested. I think where they sort of fall down is really getting to understand how the technology gets used. So there's a lot of technology that's pushed out, particularly in the hospital systems, where it's just not well designed, haven't got, it's failed because of user take-up.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things we loved about myBeepr is their absolute passion to design that solution for, the doctors and the healthcare teams, and really sweat the detail in terms of how that's going to be used.
Well, you could definitely see the passion in Kruti when she was talking then. So explain to everyone why the three of us are sitting here today and why we're not doing separate interviews and all that kind of stuff. I think that's an interesting story too.
Yeah, it's a number of years ago we sort of looked at how we can support our members, and I think where we got to, like I said before, is it's around technology. So we're investing quite a bit in terms of developing technology to support, whether it's in the medical practices or the solution for myBeepr. I think that what we really like about the myBeepr solution, is that Kruti mentioned it, is that communication in healthcare is so complex, and it's just fraught with challenges in that space. And there's continual, I think you've seen in the press, coronial inquests where just simple things have been missed. So looking at ways that we can actually drive technology to support healthcare workers to make it simpler and safer is really what we're at Avant, what we're here to do is make doctors, support them and actually make it easier and more efficient for them to deliver better quality care.
Yeah, fantastic. And so, Kruti, talk to me. Tell me, where is the business at now?
Yeah, so we have launched our product. So we started with the MVP, obviously piloted at a few hospital sites. And I think the beauty about our team is that we've got, one of the founding members is a doctor, so a clinician.
Yep.
And having him on board has really opened up doors in this market. So I want to bring it back to the healthcare industry, and why I think it takes so long to bring in anything new is because of the fact that they're so risk averse. And having this clinician come in and say, guys, this is not good enough and we need to make changes. Because I think one of the things in hospital environments, they really look up to their medical staff. And if they're the ones screaming and shouting, saying this is not good enough, they take these things seriously. So it was easy for us to open up those doors and start piloting our product. We've now moved from there to now actually establishing proper contracts, and we've gone live at 2 huge sites, one in Victoria, one in New South Wales, and we've got a few more in the pipeline that we're going to be rolling out this year. So it's been an incredible journey, and we're finally seeing the fruits of our action. So it's great.
It must be very exciting when you finally get to that stage. So how long have you been working on myBeepr now?
So we've been working on it for about 3.5 years now. But, idea stage was, we took, about 6 months thinking about the idea, how we're going to formulate it, how we're going to do this, really speaking to our customers, trying to understand it. That took about 6 months. So overall, about 4 years.
So 4 years, and now finally you're seeing it all come to fruition. It's one of the most exciting times for startups, right?
Exactly.
And so where are you seeing it go in the next, couple of years? Are you looking to develop the product a lot more? Are you looking to just get more pilot sites? Where's your vision for the next couple of years?
Yeah, so our vision is a really ambitious vision. So we want to be the go-to communication platform for healthcare. So we want to start with Australia first and then take it around the world. But what that means is we've still got to be laser focused. We're at this stage in our company. We've gone from early stage to now the scale-up stage. Yep. So we still got to really, remind ourselves, we've got to be focused. We've got to really make our early customers happy. We got to keep developing the product to make it more useful for our doctors. Yep. And nurses, because what we find is in healthcare, a lot of people just throw these solutions over the fence. They get their contracts and that's it. But we're different. Our company, what we do is we really sit down, we listen to our organization, we listen to our customers. What do you want from this product? How can we better this? How can we make it more useful? So we're always constantly taking that feedback on and developing our products. So we've got this huge product roadmap, and we have some really exciting things that we're going to be building out within our technology that's going to just completely change the way that they do things in healthcare.
Cool. So so what have you got so far? So just explain how, so obviously this is the communication platform. What is it doing now? These pilots that you're going, tell me just how that works.
Yeah. So at the moment, what we're doing, so we started small. What we tried to solve the core problem, which is team collaboration. So as an MVP, what it was, it's really just a messaging app. Yep. To allow you, teams and care teams to come together and be able to communicate together under the one platform. What we're doing now is we're really understanding, what are your workflows that you have currently in the hospital environment? So things like, on-call rosters, the paging system, really understanding, all these conversations that you're having on the platform need to be documented and uploaded onto the EMR. So integrations into their core systems that they have within the hospital. So all of that is something that we're working on with the organizations to build out.
Cool. And I'm assuming it just gets delivered through mobiles, is that right? Just through the mobile technology? Or are you having a separate device, or do you just adapting the mobile, I would imagine?
So at the moment it's mobile, but we do have grand ambitions for, bringing in the Apple Watches and,
cool.
Just really making it very intuitive, and easy for users to be able to just, know, I got to be here at this time to attend to this patient. and be able to just go and deal with that task.
Awesome. Yeah, you've got a whole world of wearables to get to at some stage. That's going to be an exciting time.
And I think the other thing I'd add to that is, I guess, the myBeepr guys are really focusing on getting it out in the hospitals at the moment. But the other thing we're looking to do is see how we can integrate that within the medical practices. So our platform sits in primary care in amongst a whole heap of specialties and GP practices, and looking at how we bring that technology into those settings and support the communication within the hospital and outside of the hospital as well.
And do you think it will merge with the PracticeHub platform then as well? Is that something that you're talking about? So tell us, let's go into a little bit more detail about PracticeHub as well. Obviously, you're talking about a piece of software that, rather than just managing like a CRM, I suppose, in other businesses, the doctor-patient relationship, the rest of the running of the businesses. Give me some examples. Explain that to me in a little bit more.
Probably the easiest way I'd sort of explain it, if you think about a piece of medical equipment, it needs to be maintained, it might need to be calibrated, there's a manual to support how that's done. You might have a third-party provider that does that. Someone within the practice is responsible for doing that.
Yep.
And then there's inevitably, if you're a GP practice, accreditation requirements. So there's some standards that you need to meet. So how we bring all that together is that on the platform, you load that asset into the asset register. You actually put down who when the calibration needs to be done, where the maintenance is, who that third party might be. You load up sort of schedule of reminders when that actually happens to be. It's actually then allocated as a task to a specific role, which is actually linked to a policy and procedures, so that when someone turns up on the first day, they've given an automated sort of induction program, and it's all there for them. They know that they need to actually, here's a policy that needs to be met because of compliance requirements. It links straight to the asset. They get a reminder if it is coming up or due to be maintained or calibrated. If it hasn't, there's an alert there. And I think importantly for medical practices, the compliance regime around that and having evidence to support that is all sort of embedded in the platform. I think where we're looking to take it is that, whilst it's really hard to remain compliant, PracticeHub into the future, just a part of the way you do business, where you make it easy for you to actually, be compliant, but actually have the evidence to support it when you get to accreditation.
It's about time we had something like that.
And it's a real challenge. I think if you look at GP practices, they go through an accreditation cycle every 3 years, and it's mayhem and
brutal,
in terms to actually get all that information together, because it's a 3-year cycle that they work to, rather than just that's the way that we do things, and because it's easy.
Yeah, and so whereabouts is that business now? So you got that deployed? Have you piloted? Are you selling? Where are you?
So we're probably about 3 years mature at the moment.
Yep.
So where we're at the moment, we're in about 1,000 medical practices, supporting about 10,000 users. I guess pretty exciting times for us, because we bought into an early piece of technology, and once we validated that there was a market there, we've just spent a lot investing in re-platforming that. And I think earlier this year we finally migrated our last of our existing customers off that platform. So we're all on the new technology now, and it's really about launching from that with new products that actually can plug into that really seamlessly. So I guess, where we are today, we're about 1,000 practices, 10,000 users, but we're looking to triple that footprint within the next 12 months. So lots of effort, and I guess, a key part of being here is about getting that team that we need to actually support us on that journey.
Well, yeah, and I should thank you both for being here, because it sounds like you've both got a heck of a lot to do.
Oh, there certainly is.
Let's go into a little bit more about you two, because people always like to hear that. So we'll go back to you, Kruti. We've got a couple of different questions that we ask around this. Let's go with the belief one. I'm quite interested in this, and this is a really good question, because everybody sort of interprets the question differently, so you get a real variety of answers. But is there a belief that you have had at some stage in your life that has fundamentally changed? And it's an interesting question, because it's not just something that you thought, it's a proper belief. And beliefs are sort of instilled in you as you grow up. So for something to change a belief, it's usually something quite sort of massive that might happen. And if that hasn't, because not everybody has had that, is there a belief that you have had reinforced even more through another event of some sorts? Interesting question. Tell me.
Yes. So being, I guess, growing up in my family, Coming from an ethnic background, failing is a big thing. So don't fail in life. So that's huge. I've been ingrained by mom, dad, always saying, you should always pick the right choice, whether it's your education, whether it's, what you want to do for your career, always has to be the right thing. And, don't make mistakes because that could set you back and all of that stuff. So it's always such an ingrained part of my life to not make mistakes. And, what I found is that's probably it's one of the things that over time I had to learn that it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to fail. But what you can do from that is to learn and say, okay, why did that not go right? And what can I do about it to make it a success? And I'm not just talking about in business, it's in life, in just making general decisions. Because what I found is by having this belief of not just don't fail or don't make the wrong decision, I stopped making decisions in my life. And, I was too scared almost to do that. And I guess, what changed for me is when I came back from London, I really reassessed and I said, what do I want to do? This is a real pivotal point in my life. I could either keep going down this whole, corporate ladder and just keep, churning, working up that, or take a massive risk and build and do something that I really, am passionate about and solving a real problem. And that's when I took this journey to start this company. And it was a very risky one. But, I did it, and, there has been roughs and troughs along the way, but it's all about just always having that reminder that it's okay to fail.
That's
it's
an
okay
awesome
to make
answer.
mistakes.
It's a good answer. I think you're basically reframing failure as learning, right? Simple as that.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And what about you, Martin? Is there anything that's fundamentally changed a belief in your time on this planet?
I was going to say, it's not as profound as what Kruti's just said.
It's a tough one to follow, isn't it? I tell you, I should have asked you first.
Damn it, that was mine. I think for me, pre-COVID, I just was on the understanding or belief that we were going to see the same glacial change and adoption of technology in healthcare. It's just been so hard to drive change. But I think in COVID, what we've seen is people have been forced to change the way they behave and they use technology. And that's driven changes in funding. And I think for me, that's driven a lot of interest in health tech at the moment. And there's a lot of funding coming in, a lot of interest. And I guess really importantly, changing in behaviour and a greater acceptance to actually adopt technology. So I think for me, the belief that it was going to be glacial, I think that was a real opportunity for us. I think it's been a lot faster. It's going to be a lot more exciting, that's for sure.
That's good.
But I think it's an exciting time to be in health tech.
Look, I agree. I think COVID has had so many positives. Obviously, there's a lot of negatives and we shouldn't gloss over them, but it's brought so many positives to the world, really. Yeah. It's probably one of the only things I can think of that has really changed the world. Even if you look back at some of the financial crisis, a lot of those bad habits have come straight back in again. But this has fundamentally changed the world in like that. And it's interesting time to be alive, that's for sure.
That certainly is. And I guess the way that we work and large corporates that always think that you had to have people in the office 5 days a week. It's a thing of the past. I think we're actually finding a lot of people coming to us because of our way that we want to actually work off-site. You can come in and you don't have to be there 5 days a week.
It's the number one question we get asked now when we're recruiting any role for any company. And if you're not offering it, people don't want to work for you. I mean, I've seen sort of 70-year-old partners of law firms who the thought of ever not being in the office absolutely horrified them, going, why didn't we do this 20 years ago? But I've also seen quite a few people who are desperate to get back. It's interesting. It's another topic. We'll be going all day if we talk about that. And there is a very specific reason that we both got here today is both of your companies are about to just explode in growth.
Yep.
And hopefully we're about to help you do that really, really quickly and effectively. So what I want to hear from both of you, because this is the gold that only founders and people who are running these businesses can talk about. Kruti, we'll go to you. Tell me, why should someone come and work for myBeepr?
Well, the reason why people the reason why we want someone to work for us is because we want them to share this ambitious vision. that we have. We want them to make a real impact. We want them to grow with our team, and also we want them to, act like a family. So at the myBeepr team, we have this common theme of really trusting all of our employees. So, whether it means they come up with some really interesting ideas, whether they come up with, just suggestions on how to do things, processes, whatever it is, we trust. The trust is a key thing with our employees, and we treat them like family. So they can come to us with whatever problems that they have. If someone's going through a hard time at home, we give them the time that they need. So that's something, a core foundation that we're building within our company, and that's worked really well for us right now.
Absolutely. And what about from a technology point of view? Is it the technology you're using has got to be, we talked about, you've got all these new things coming and all these new products, all these new features, potential wearables. Gosh, there's so much exciting stuff to come, right?
And that's absolutely right. So one of the key things that we find that, with the employees that we have and what they love about working for us is it's constantly challenging. So, we're not just producing an application that, some users will use for non-urgent communications. It's like a chat app, social, whatever. It's critical comms here. We're dealing with people's lives. So it's absolutely imperative to get the technology right and ensure that, if we're getting feedback on that technology, to really make sure that, we're striving to do the best that we can to build something that's foolproof, pretty much.
And going to have a huge impact, right? Huge impact.
Yes, absolutely. That's right.
Fantastic. And Martin, let's talk about PracticeHub. Why should someone come and work for PracticeHub?
I think at the end of the day, it comes to the purpose. Why do you turn up to work every day? And, I think there's nothing better than being in an organisation that helps the community and healthcare. I think we see our doctors, they dedicate their lives to supporting patients in the community. And being a part of that and building great technology to actually support them, that's what gets you up every day. It's not easy to have a startup, but if you're going to work and you're seeing how your product gets used and giving back to the community, I think that's a huge part of, who we are and why we turn up to work every day. And that sort of permeates to the culture. I think we've got a great team. Yep. It's nothing like being in a team where it's purpose-driven rather than a bunch of people that are just there for the money. Really, at the end of the day, everyone's got your back. It's just pull up your sleeves, make it happen. And I think the other element is just the opportunity. Healthcare, health technology at the moment, the last frontier. There's just so much opportunity to actually create value. And our biggest challenge is actually just focus and simplify what we're doing and actually do the important stuff well. But as an opportunity set, there's just so much there to do. And I think the other benefit and the unique thing that Avant brings to the table is just having a well-funded organisation behind you and having all those members. I think the biggest challenge into driving technology into healthcare is actually really understanding how it's being used. And when you've got half of Australia's doctors behind you actually that you can draw upon to actually get insights to actually develop those solutions, that's a huge advantage. And they work in every healthcare setting in Australia. So the opportunity that actually provides to get into some of those organisations to drive change, it's just a massive opportunity, and just healthcare in general.
I agree. And exciting. Look, I think that the number one thing outside of the kind of technology or the kind of the location, the kind of thing that people really want, and what I find people are looking for, and COVID has almost re-emphasised this even more, is they want to work in a business where they can have an impact. And they mean that in the fact that it's a business that's probably located here in Australia, so they're not sort of puppets to the US. They're having an impact on the actual business, but also has an impact on the world. Now, health has a massive impact, and both of these businesses are going to have a massive impact. And I think, there's not a lot more impact you can have than on people's lives. So I think it's a pretty awesome story. Guys, thank you so much for both coming on. It's been so good to hear both of your stories. I'm very excited to start this recruitment project for you both and really get these businesses taking off. It's going to be very, very, very much fun. It's going to be cool. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
I will leave you guys to go back to your very, very busy lives, and we will speak soon.
Great. Pleasure to be here.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.